This is the Everything Weight Loss podcast with Shari Ware, where we talk about everything, all things, anything to do with weight loss, health, and wellness. So today I'm talking to Linda Benn, who's an international wellness alchemist and industry leader in the consciousness revolution. Her mission is to help people thrive by empowering them to lead a healthier, happier, and more productive life. Definitely on my page. Having overcome cancer, chronic fatigue, autoimmune, and an eating disorder without medical intervention, Linda has the expertise, knowledge, and healing capabilities to transform people's lives. She combines her vast experience in holistic healing and training with her genuine love of people and walks them through each step to have enthusiasm and purpose for their life. The BENN Method, founded by Linda Benn, empowers people to go from trauma to thriving, resulting in freedom, love, peace, and joy. I absolutely love all of that. So first of all, Linda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shari. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I know that you have an amazing story. I mean, you've overcome quite a few things in your life from the sounds of that introduction I just gave. So tell us more about that. Tell us what's the story?
So I grew up in a very unhealthy, volatile family, and mum and dad were forced to get married because mum fell pregnant to my older sister. And back in those days, you had to get married. But neither of them were happy. And so I was second born, and mum had actually kept leaving dad during, prior to me, and running back to her parents, and then her parents would keep sending her back to dad. So she was very stressed. And then 3 months in utero, I was going to be destroyed. And and then by the time I was born, mum was so sick that she couldn't breastfeed me. And it was just a very stressful environment. So the fight and flight was kind of set up in my nervous system back then, and the rejection and abandonment, as well as not having that bond with my mum, as well as, the nourishment. And so going through school, like dad was working on the boat, he was stressed. It was quite abusive. And then my older sister was literally trying to kill me, physically, emotionally, mentally. So, but I always felt ostracized because I knew I was different. And even when, so yeah, I remember a time when I was in grade 2, and mum would come and pick up my older sister from school, but I had to walk home. So it was that, abandonment that was really set in back then. And so growing up, then that led into, my teenage years and just being constantly criticized. My older sister kept telling me how fat and ugly I was. So then I thought that you had to be thin in order to be loved, or how was I ever going to attract a boyfriend, if I was so fat and ugly? And so that led into the eating disorder. And then my dad was also criticizing me because my mum and dad separated when I was 10. So dad was really angry, and then for some reason just picked on me and kept telling me, I've got no brains, I take after my mother, I can't do anything right, I'm a failure, blah, blah. So there was a lot of imprinting done back in my childhood years, and lots of traumatic events, one after the other. And by the time I was 21, I was in so much emotional pain, and I created cancer. And the doctors, I was planning on traveling, and the doctor said, you cannot leave Australia. You have to stay and get treatment. It's like, no, get me out of this country, because I knew that, yeah, I was dying. I was in so much pain. My family didn't really, it was like, oh, well, there was no care or love or affection, growing up. And I was just craving that love. And so I met my first spiritual teacher when I was in San Jose, California, when I started traveling and doing my 3-year walkabout. And he's the one that healed me, but he helped me to understand my purpose, why I was here, and also why I chose my parents and the family that I came into. And this was such a strong foundation and awakening for me to really understand, the big picture and what I was here to do. Because he said to me back then, he said, if you keep going down this track, you'll be dead. And he's highly intuitive, and I learnt so much from him. I used to spend a couple of days with him every single week. So I learnt a lot of my spiritual foundation back then. And that's what opened me into more of the natural therapies path, and started studying, learning many different modalities. It was always the spirituality and the psychic tools, and the more intuition, which I was real gravitating to, and the healing. And so everything that I studied, it was also helping me to heal my own wounds. And that's when I, started my business 20 years ago. And I was, on this journey of, healing myself from the trauma and the rejection and the abandonment and all the hurt and all the old beliefs and programs and patterns that were set up. So I've been working on myself ever since, to unravel all those neurological networks in my brain.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's been a journey.
Wow.
I've experienced a lot of things in my life, so it doesn't matter what people come to me with. I have compassion for them.
Yeah. So you've overcome the cancer and the eating disorder, and tell us about the chronic fatigue and the autoimmune. Where did that come in?
That came in about 4 years ago. I moved to California in 2010, and I was living there for 7 years. And it's a very fast lifestyle over there, and I gave everything. Plus, I moved 15 times. So again, I was constantly on the move, and being a very creative being, I also need to be grounded. But with all this moving and living out of my car, and not literally, but I was on the road so much that it felt like I was just living out of my car. And and so I became quite burnt out, just exhausted, and I came back to Australia, and it was like, okay, what's next? And I knew that I wasn't well. Well, my energy had dropped, and I felt that. So then I went to the doctors, and they gave me all these labels, and I had all the blood tests and other tests, and then at the same time, my family were just attacking me, judgment, criticism, blame, and pretty much all those old wounds from my childhood all just hit me in my face. And I just made the decision then, you know what, I'm done. Get me off this planet. So I created the disease in my body, and I made that decision. And I cut off from source energy, cut off from my inner child, and then very quickly witnessed my physical body just deteriorating. And in that short time, I was so depleted and undernourished, and I lost so much weight that I dislocated my hip and my knee because I had no muscles to hold my joints together.
Yeah.
And I was super thin, and yeah, I was just wasting away. And I then I yeah, my brain wasn't functioning. I had trouble even putting a sentence together or concentrating during the day. I was so fatigued that I had to keep laying down and having naps throughout the day. And my liver was down to 38% functioning. Adrenals were a flat line. Yeah, I lost sight in my left eye. So I wasn't in a good way.
Yeah.
And then through this process, that's when I came up with the BENN method. Now, I was seeing a doctor, and he was just getting quite upset with me. You know, you have to take the medication, you have to, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and it was like, no, it goes against everything that I've studied and believe. And I realized back then is that it's like I'm in charge of my own healing. I make the choices for my health and wellness and my direction in my life, and I will heal my body. And so that's where it was a process of really healing the trauma and the pain with my family. So I had to come back to Australia in order to heal my relationship with my family. And so that was key. And in my recovery is when I came up with the BENN method, which is balance, energy, nurture, and nourish. And that those four key points is so important in everyone's life, and it's a model that's sustainable to take you through the rest of your life, because without source energy flowing through you, which is your life force energy, you know, you don't have the energy. Plus my life was so out of balance because during this time I was still exercising like a crazy woman, which was even putting more stress on my body, and my adrenals, cortisol, wasn't sleeping. And so I'd punish myself with, okay, since I'm not sleeping, I'll go to the gym and do a 5:30 class.
Yeah.
And then I'll do another one after that. And I'll just, you know, keep pushing myself. And it was just, yeah, all that's not nourishing nor nurturing my body. So through the process of healing is that's when I looked at these four key areas. What do I need? And it all comes back to self-love,
Yeah.
self-compassion,
Yeah.
self-forgiveness, and really loving myself. And what I learned, you know, from my family is that even though they well, I don't want to say they don't love me,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're just not on the same wavelength. My spirituality really pushes their buttons and triggers them, so then they project onto me their unresolved issues, and I just have to keep raising my vibration, raising my light to shine out their darkness.
Yeah, sure. So if I was to ask you, out of all of this, and I've got more questions about all of this, but I'll ask this question first. If you were to say that you had a superpower, what would that be? Because it feels to me like that's a very big part of your story.
Very much so. I would say my intuitive gift with the ability to heal the mind and the body,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's connected.
Oh,
It's
everything,
all,
definitely. Everything's connected, isn't it?
well, yeah. And the areas I work is, the physical, emotional, mental, energetic, and spiritual. So I've always worked very holistically, and to look at what's the root cause, what's
Mm,
behind it all.
yeah.
And yeah, with everything that I've studied over the years, it's like, wow, I'm a soul in this body on this journey, as we all are. And to really come back to my true authentic self,
Mm,
and believe, that I'm source energy in this physical body. I'm a magnificent, amazing being of service to others. And we all have a story, and we've all experienced trauma. And if it's unresolved, well, then it can lead to illness or disease,
yeah, and that's such a big message,
depression,
isn't it?
or
You've said a couple of times whilst telling your story that you created these things in your body. So talk to us more about that. What does that mean for people who have never come across that before?
so it's consciously. So at the time, it was like, oh, I've been given these labels, but because I was so depressed and basically committing energetic suicide, that I made the decision, and it was like, you know what, I'm done. Get me off. And that was my way. I was getting my affairs in order and cleaning up, things, so that everything was kind of organized. And so, though now I look back, and it was like I had to hit rock bottom and go to the depths of very low vibration, suicide, depression, illness, and disease, in order to see, how to get out, how to heal myself, and everything's a choice.
Yeah.
And also have compassion for those who are stuck there. And because if you can imagine a spider's web, and this is, the medical system, and I'm not knocking the medical system, because there is some very good in there. But with medication, what that does is like poisons the person. So you're in the spider's web, the spider poisoned you, you're stuck in the web. And then from the medication, there's a lot of different side effects, and then you're disempowered.
Yeah.
It's like you lose your ability to heal yourself, because you just kept given all these, results. These are your blood tests. This is what's wrong with you. This is what's wrong with you. This is what's wrong with you. And here, you've got depression, take this, take that. So my doctor was very upset with me because I would not take any medication, and I was non-compliant. Though what I showed him is that I healed my body naturally through my recovery, and now all my blood tests are completely normal. So he has more faith in, okay, I'm the captain of my own ship, and I can heal my own body, and I'm in charge of my health and well-being.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of really key concepts. First of all, going back to the choices, is that, as you said, everything is a choice. We all have a choice. However, a lot of people don't realise, especially when they're down in that dark place, where you were at your lowest low, a lot of people aren't aware that they have a choice, that they don't have to feel that way, and that there are ways to get themselves out of there. So that's a really big message, I feel, that people know that it doesn't have to be that way, that there are ways and things that can help them. So that's awesome. The other thing I want to talk about is, well, there's three things. So the second thing is belief. So you believed, am I right? You believed that you could heal yourself naturally.
Yes.
Yes. And that's such a massive thing. You believed that you could heal yourself naturally, and so you did. And I think it's just really important. As you said, it's not, you're not knocking the medical profession. It's just so important that people know that it's not the only way, that there are other ways, there are different ways. And sometimes it takes a combination of, lots of different things. But for you believed that you could heal yourself. So that was your way.
Yes. And it was my spiritual teacher, when I went and saw her, she just took one look at me and just went, Linda Benn, what are you doing? Do you know who you are as a soul? And I went, yeah, but I'm tired, I'm exhausted. So I got the spirit slap. And
I love that spirit slap.
Yes. And that's when I decided to actually make my new choice to stay and be of service to others and be able to help people who are down there in the pit, and at those very low points in their life, and then empower them to come back and heal from the trauma and heal their own bodies. And so that's what I'm passionate about. It's really about empowering other people to believe in themselves, believe in who they are as a soul, and what a gift it is to be here in this physical body to experience this life, and what we came here to learn and grow for our own soul's growth and evolution. And that's what I'm really passionate about, in helping people to transform their life and go from trauma to thriving, resulting in freedom, love, peace, and joy.
Which is beautiful. I love that. So the third thing that I wanted to talk about as well, and we've spoken a little bit already, and I want to talk more about it, is this concept of that we create these things. So that seems like it can be very negative. Like somebody could turn around and say, oh, no, I didn't create that. So walk us through that whole concept more, so that people really understand that it's not that they've done it intentionally. Tell us more about that.
So we create everything in our lives, and even when we don't like it, but it's about taking responsibility and really being honest and truthful with yourself, with any circumstance, situation, broken relationship, or trauma, or it's like we go through all of these different events in our lives, and it's about really having an honest conversation with yourself and say, how did I create this? And what was the learning? What was the positive learning for me? And so my positive learning from my family, and they're all beautiful teachers and they're all playing roles for me, because I was so craving love and acceptance. What they've taught me is to love and accept myself and not look to the external world for love and acceptance and approval and acknowledgement. And that's key, and also with the all the criticism and the judgment and And it was like, comes back to believe in myself, believe in the amazing being that I am, and really step into my power and not let anyone or anything pull you down. And so that's really key as well.
Yeah, I feel that this concept of that we are our own creation is so important, because I know that in my own life, I created a massive suit of armor of fat around my body because it wasn't that anything that I set out to say, yeah, that's it. I didn't consciously say to myself, I want to get really, really big. I want to be 180 kilos. That's not something I ever said to myself. In fact, quite the opposite. And nobody out there sets out to create those things in their life consciously. But that's the thing that people don't realise, is that so many of these things that happen in our lives, even the negative things as well, even though we think that we don't want them, for some reason, subconsciously, we've contributed to them coming into our lives because of things that we aren't necessarily aware of. So just for anybody who's listening that this might resonate with, I did do an episode a little while ago on tribal cycles and roles, which I know that if this is a new concept to you and you want to learn more about how everything interacts, I will put the link to that in the show notes for people to listen to that as well, because it was, when I first learned about that, I know it was totally eye-opening and mind-boggling to me. It wasn't something that had come into my world yet. So getting back to you and your story, Linda, I want to know, what do you feel, if you would say that there are, what would be the biggest things or the most common things that people do that don't serve them, that have a negative impact or help to create these things in our lives?
It all starts with your thoughts. Your thoughts and the stories you tell yourself, and then the words that you speak. You're putting an energy and vibration out there. So everyone's heard of the law of attraction, but literally you are planting the seeds for your future by your thoughts and the words that you say, and the emotions are all part of your story. But then it's you're giving energy to what you don't want.
Yeah.
So again, weight, physical weight is an emotional protection, of
Absolutely.
protect me. I need to be safe. I don't feel safe. And so in that, it's about recognizing that you can choose to be the victim or the victor. And so with your thoughts and what you're telling yourself, and again, this is the work that I do with people with my 5R program of release, realign, restore, rebalance, re-energize. We look at those old beliefs, the old programs, the old patterns, the negative emotions, the old stories, everything that's going on in our conscious mind, but looking at the unconscious of what is running the patterns. And so it's about, there's an analogy of, because I'm from a boating family, and that the ship is moving through the water. And what is driving the ship is the engines, which is the energy of this present moment. With a ship or a boat, it leaves a wake behind. Now, the wake of where the boat has been has no power, it has no energy, and that's the same as our past life, our past in this life. And what's moving the boat forward is the energy in this moment to keep moving us forward, being in touch with our internal GPS to get us to our end goal. And focus on our goal of where we want to go. So having that conversation, what do I truly want in my life? And then doing some deep soul searching of where are the blocks, what's stopping me, what stories, beliefs, old programs am I running, and where do I feel stuck in my life? And you know, one of my gifts is I have the ability to identify where the body is holding stuck energy and identify those blocks, but also identify what the mind is holding. So it's unraveling all of that and removing all that old programming so that people can come back to their true essence of who they are, their true authentic self, which is freedom, love, peace, and joy, because everyone on the planet just wants to be happy.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the thing to realise, that people get so frustrated with themselves, and they're like, well, you know, why am I doing that? I don't want to do that. But what we don't realise is that there's a reason for everything we do. It's past programming. It's beliefs that we have that maybe we're not aware of. So it's really important to acknowledge that, and to just work on undoing that programming, or rewriting that programming, which is a choice that we have. A lot of people don't know that we have that choice. We do have that choice. The other thing I want to say is that I loved your analogy of the boat. And I really loved, and it popped straight into my head as soon as you said it. You said that in the wake, the wake is our past. That's where we've been, and it holds no power. However, that's where the problem lies, because so many of us give it power.
Exactly. By talking about it and talking, you know, and just over and over. And we're giving it energy and power and keeping it alive. Whereas your past is your past. Let it go. Let go of all the attachments. Let go of the past. And it's a process, you know, because each day we're, you know, tested and triggered, and it's like, oh, awesome. You know, every single person that we come in touch with is a teacher in front of us. You know, whether they're projecting onto us, whether they're triggering us, and if you're triggered by someone, it's like looking within yourself, you know, of okay, what's going on inside of me that is triggered, you know. So it's coming to the place of peace and neutrality, and I can honestly say that's how I feel with my family now. That's taken years.
Definitely.
Years to go, okay, it's past. They are who they are. They're not going to change. And they, you know, it's not my job to try and change them.
Well, and that's the thing to remember, is that everybody's on their own path. Everybody's at their own stage of evolution, and you're just at a different stage of evolution to what they are. So that's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it's happened. So what would be some steps, or what would be the first steps that people should be taking if this is an issue for them, if they're, you know, listening to this episode and they're thinking, oh my goodness, that sounds just like me? What would be at least one thing that they can do to start moving in the right direction, to start healing, to do whatever they need to do?
Well, it's self-love, self-compassion, and self-forgiveness. You know, 3 key areas. And be kind and gentle with yourself. You know, there's so much judgment and criticism out in the world, and blaming, but we actually berate ourselves. So if you can start with yourself and just give yourself self-love,
Yeah.
then that raises your energy vibration, and then it also helps to open your heart, so then you can actually give out love. So be love, do love, radiate love, and then you actually start to really get in touch with, wow, I feel so good, and I'm happy, and wow, life is wonderful and amazing, and I'm so grateful to be alive and so blessed to be here on the planet at this time.
Yeah.
Because it's such an amazing adventure and journey, and it's so short, but the human beings, the human doing, we actually put ourselves through so much suffering, and at the end of the day, it's like, for what purpose?
Yeah, which again is programming.
Exactly. And we're not here to suffer. Suffering is a choice.
Yeah, that's an old program. Get on board with the new program.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Throw that old record out, and yes. So this is, let go of, be free of suffering and be at peace. That's what I say is, what I want for everybody.
Definitely.
And to feel happy within themselves, so that their heart is singing, and they wake up in the morning and go, wow, I feel fantastic. I love my life. I have the best life. And just have that passion and enthusiasm and energy and vitality, and feel it in every cell in your body.
That's beautiful. So what I want to say to people then, or now, I've got one last question to ask you, but I'll ask it after this. I imagine that you have some free resources, or how can people contact you if they want to take this conversation further with you?
So best place is my website, lindabenn.com. And on there, there's a free gift of an adrenal meditation to heal your adrenals if you're feeling burnt out or exhausted, because that's so common in our lifestyle. And then there's the meditations. Every month I do a full moon and a new moon meditation. There's programs, the BENN Method, plus the 5R program. So that's split into level 1 and level 2. It's a 7-week program, but there's also a half-day workshop of my 5R program, and then free webinars every Monday. So I'll be doing a webinar very soon, and that's every Monday at 1 o'clock. And then I also have support groups as well as Q&A, and there's a membership site there for those people who want ongoing support, that they're not ready to do the one-on-one coaching. So this is where the group program and the membership coaching is very supportive for people that are just starting on their journey, though everyone's welcome to come along to one of my webinars, join my mailing list, and then I can keep you up to date with all the different events, because I also teach a energy medicine healing class, which is in person, and then the other classes are online. So
awesome. Okay, so I'll put any relevant links in the show notes for people to be able to contact you or look at all of those things. Thank you for that. So my last question will be, or is, what's the one thing that you want people to know? So if they're listening or watching this episode and you want them to walk away with one big concept, what would that be?
To listen to your soul. Actually stop and be quiet and just ask your soul, what do you want to tell me today? and connect with your heart. Get out of the head, connect with your heart and listen. And you can journal this. You can sit in meditation and just get the download and just, keep following your heart.
Oh, you just said that so beautifully, and I just want to add, because a lot of I'm like me, I don't always go that next step, but so many of us, and I've definitely been one of these. I'm getting better at it. I'm working on it. I'm getting better at it, but we don't give ourselves the time to sit down and do that. So it's so important. We need to be doing that. And the other thing that I've realised is that, and it's very much in my own life, which I'm working on as well, is that if we do give ourselves the time, sometimes we don't trust in ourselves, in what comes out of that, and we don't act on it because we don't trust it. So give ourselves the time and trusting the messages that we're getting, because it's not going to come out. It's not going to come into our head if it's not valid for us.
And these are all the techniques and tools and things that I teach in my BENN Method, which is balance, energy, nurture, and nourish.
Yeah, it all ties in together, doesn't it?
Yes, comes back to you. We came into these bodies alone and we'll leave alone, so it's like, just enjoy the journey while we're here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Linda, for joining me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, Shari. Thank you so much. Yeah, and sending everyone a blessed day.
For everybody listening or watching, we'll see you on the next episode. See ya. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Remember to check out the show notes, and if you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. If you've received value from this podcast, make sure to subscribe, and I'd love you to rate and review the show. Have a fabulous day.